Leslie from A Friend to Knit With. Welcome to episode number 9 of A Friend to Knit With podcast. My name is Leslie Friend and I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania with my family. I can be found on Ravelry as Friend to Friend, on Instagram as Leslie Friend, and my blog name is A Friend to Knit With. So thank you for stopping by. I know there are so many great podcasts out there. I love to watch them because I feel like it gives me a sense of community and brings like-minded people together. And I think during this very stressful time that we're in, I think it can relieve stress and bring some comfort. Yes, not only with the pandemic, but with the events of the past weeks. So thank you for stopping by. I do have some things to say about what's happening in the world, and I will sort of put that towards the end. I'll show you some books that I've been reading and what I've been trying to do. So I will talk about knitting first. So this is Missoni Accomplished. I think I finished this maybe at the end of May. It was a pretty quick knit. I started this on the car ride down to Florida. Well, I didn't start this one. I actually started this on the car ride down to Florida when I went to see my mother back in May. And I wanted to mention this because it was the first time I had ever done this, and I thought it was really handy to have this. So what had happened was I was knitting. I wasn't getting gauge, but I thought, because I am the queen of blocking, maybe I could block it out. I truly am. I can make things fit that looks like they were gonna fit my daughter. So I kept it to show you because I knew it wasn't gonna fit, but I just kept knitting in the car. And the next day after we arrived, I blocked it and laid it out in the Florida sunshine to dry, and it was too small. I was right. So it was just tight across the shoulders and wasn't gonna work. But I think it's really great to have this when you start again, and we all are gonna have more yarn unless you finish the sweater and you're completely frogging it. But if you're just frogging it as you go, then you can kind of compare, you know, oh yeah, this is bigger. Oh yeah, this is wider. Or, oh yeah, that's how, you know. So for sizing, I think it's extremely important. So I wanted to mention that. But this is the Missoni Accomplished. I made some modifications. My size was extremely too small. So I started with the size of large, and I ended up, it is a little A-line, but it's much more fitted. I went down to a medium in the pattern, which is maybe a small, I'm not sure, but it does have a little bit of blouse, but not as much as most of the ones I've seen on Ravelry have. I did make some modifications to the sleeve. I omitted the final stripe here and made it, you know, just at my elbow. I really like that sleeve length. I think it's nice and flattering. So yeah, those are my modifications. I will say I learned something in this pattern knitting. I'm not sure if you watched my last podcast, but I mentioned how I want to try new techniques because I kind of feel like I've been stuck in my ways and, you know, do what I know how to do and don't really branch out. Somebody had mentioned two-stranded knitting a while ago, not on this sweater, or I didn't read it on this sweater, but I thought, oh, maybe I could try that on this sweater. So I didn't do it on this part of the sweater, on this piece. And are you a continental knitter and an English knitter? I'm an English knitter. So I throw. And if you're a picker, I wish I was picking. But I have, over the years, tried to learn how to knit continental, but I'm not as fast and it slows me down, and I just want to keep going. And I have to look, which usually I don't have to look when I'm knitting, definitely stockinette. On this piece, I was knitting along, dropping one color, picking up the other, and you know that just creates a tangled mess. So I have to hold up my yarn and untangle the sweater. The sweater's flipping around, or if I hold this up, I hold one ball down and I kind of try to take it around. So it can be a big pain in the butt. If you haven't tried two-stranded Colorwork in the round, I highly recommend trying it. It was a game changer. I would be sad when I had to just knit in one color. It was really fun to work on that. So, and I brought this out. This was my mother's from years ago. I don't know, maybe in the 90s, but the back is exactly like the front. And I don't know, this is how I remember doing a lot of color work, is with baubles. Do you guys ever remember doing baubles? So you would have baubles of all different colors. Maybe on this you would just have strands, or you could carry it. On this it would be a bauble, and you'd have another bauble over here, and you'd have a lot of baubles coming across because you had a lot of different colors. And yeah, that's how I remember doing color work. But my mom knit this as a pool cover up. I'm not sure she ever wore it as a pool cover up. I think it's just a beautiful work of art. Not that I would probably wear it. I'll probably fold it back up and put it back in the closet. I think it's really fun, and I thought I'd bring it out for the summer podcast because, you know, it's very summery with all the fish, the ocean. Yeah. All right, so the other thing I have knit since I podcasted last was, well, do you guys know Lily Kate France? If you don't, please look her up. She is proficient, amazing knitter, and I started my knitting blog in 2006, and back then it was really, Instagram's like that, but it was a really beautiful way to connect with other people. And Lily's mom, Amanda, was also a knit blogger. So she wrote on her blog and knit beautiful pieces. And she has a daughter named Lily, who was the exact same age of my Libby. So we ended up connecting the two girls, and they became pen pals and had a nice little relationship, exchanged some knit goods. Libby, my daughter, can knit. She's not knitting now. She just doesn't have the passion that Lily and I have. But maybe one day she will. Fingers crossed. It's okay if she doesn't. I'll just knit for her. So Lily was doing a knit along for the month of June. 20% of her patterns went to Black Lives Matter, which was wonderful. And so I bought a couple of patterns. I'll show you the other one. I had Libby look at her website and see which pattern she wanted. She chose the Be Thankful cardigan, which I could not be more thankful for this cardigan. It is really darling. Lily is an amazing pattern writer, not only knitter, photographer, model. This is, I feel like, an updated cardigan. It's cropped, has balloon sleeves, has a nice faux seam down the side. Yeah, so Libby hasn't been able to try it on because she is still in Colorado, but when she comes back, I can't wait for her to try it on. But this is my friend-to-friend little cotton tag that I usually don't sew it in. I never sew it in my sweaters, and I just thought it would be fun because her last name is Friend also. So I think I'm thankful for everything about this sweater because it's Lily's pattern for Libby, and the yarn came from my mom's house when I was there in May, and my sisters and I went through my mom's stash since she can't knit anymore with her dementia. But she had a bag plus 2 balls of Cashmerino Aran, which, if you know that yarn, it is really fantastic. I love it. So this is it, Cashmerino Aran by Debbie Bliss. And sorry for the glare. So I use my mom's yarn. These are from my stash, which is my grandmother's stash. So these are my grandmother's buttons, my mom's yarn. My hands knit it, and Libby will wear it. And I am very thankful for all of the people and all of the things and all the energy that's involved in this sweater. And my daughter graduated from the University of Colorado in May, so she will be starting a job. She got a teaching job out in Colorado. She's gonna be a 3rd grade teacher. And I just even thought, I mean, she could really style this cutely, but I thought she could just keep it at school even on cool mornings, cool days. Yeah, I'm just very thankful for all the women involved in this sweater. So the other thing I was working, one other thing I wanted to mention to you about sewing on buttons. I don't know what you guys do in order to get your thread. You can use floss that you embroider with. Of course, you can just use your regular thread. But what my mom taught me, if your yarn is not too fine, because you usually have to tag on it to see if it will pull apart. If it doesn't, so I take a strand of the yarn that I used in the project, and this was maybe 5 strands, so this is 5 strands, and I pull it apart and just get one and make sure it's still can hold its weight, and I use that as the thread, and then it doesn't show on the back, and you can you can thread them through. And yeah, that's my other little trick. So also in my last podcast, I was making a baby sweater for someone, and I didn't particularly like how it was turning out. So I got online and I found a darling pattern called In Threes, and it comes in sizes 0 to 6 to 5 years. And I thought it was just so sweet. So that's called In Threes. Might have taken 2 days. I used a washable, I always try to use a washable yarn for young mothers. But it's pure wash worsted weight by Tanis Fibers. And it is organic, 100% organic merino. So yeah, I just wanted to mention this because this is a darling little sweater, super fast. Can be worn with like a little long sleeve or thrown on. I don't exactly know how they'll style it, but I thought it was very cute, and this yarn is very cool. Love it. So hopefully I can get that packaged up and delivered because it's someone local. What else? I have a lot of stuff around me, but I don't know what to show you next. I think I'll show you the yarn that I was going to make this sweater in. So this is by Espace Tricot. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's beautifully written, comes up to size like 62. I have lots of sizes, and I was gonna do a summer version. That's how I got on this in the first place, because this yarn, which I forgot to mention, is discontinued. And it was Classic Elite, who I absolutely adored in soft linen. They went out of business, but I adored their yarns. And that's Missoni Accomplished, free pattern on Ravelry. And I was going to make this sweater out of Espace Tricot's linen, and I was going to make the main color and then the stripes. That'd be cute. But I don't think I am going to make this again, and I've been hunting all over the place for a sweater to either do a thin stripe in it or something. But I think what I'm going to do is maybe hold 2 strands together, as I think it might be enough, and do it on a big needle, maybe a size 11 or 13, and just make it a kind of loose pullover, kind of airy, that I could wear a tank underneath. Maybe I'll put the pink around the neck or around the sleeves. I'll probably make it long sleeve. So that's what I'm thinking. I've been looking on Ravelry if anyone knows of anything cute that's sort of in that category. I know Wool and the Gang they have a cardigan that I might consider, but that I've already made before. So we'll see. But that's really the only yarn that I have probably purchased since my last podcast. All right, I'm going to show you what's on my needles because I was super excited. Now, here's how I was inspired on my next knit. I don't know if you guys do this, but I love Architectural Digest magazines because just the beauty in there and the colors, what people do, it's just amazing. But this, I've had this flag for a while. I love that sweater. Of course, this is not a knitting magazine, so they don't tell me where to get the pattern or even where to buy the sweater. But I thought that would be a great winter. It's on a chunk. It looks chunky and long sleeve and flowy and cozy. But when I'm usually flipping through a magazine, I think, oh, that looks delicious. And I flip and I want to decorate like that. And then, wow, there's Tamu McPherson. And she's wearing this amazing sweater. And wow, look at her shoes. And wow, let's go back to the sweater. This is my brain. And then I think, wait, Lily has the Lawrenson sweater that looks just like that. Back to Lily Kate France. So Lily has the Lawrenson sweater. Isn't that cute? And it looks exactly like this. So, yeah, and if you don't know Tamu McPherson, I've followed her on Instagram. She's just a style icon. She has the most fabulous shoes and style, but they didn't tell me where to get that sweater either. But I wouldn't have bought it anyhow. So I'm going to make it. And I immediately went to my stash, downloaded the pattern. Oh, also Jackie from Caddy Jack's Knits just finished one, which is really muddled and cute. It's like navy, I think, with some white. The yarn was really cool. So what I am going to do, this is it. This is knit pretty much in one piece. I mean, seamless. You're gonna pick up, and it has these amazing puff sleeves, just like just like where I like it, just to like here. And I am using also Caddy Jack's Knits. Mentioned this in one of their podcasts. I think they were doing a giveaway, but it's Julie Asselin Melange #1, and a couple colors were sold in cones. I bought this gray one. I was going to make a straggle sweater out of this, but I said, oh my goodness, I think I have other plans for you. And what was in the works is the Lawrenson sweater. So I also bought, this is La Bien Aimée. It's a mohair and silk. I'm not exactly sure of the color, but it's like a midnight blue. It's not black. It's like the deepest, darkest purple or midnight blue. But together, they are making this. And I had to go down a needle size for gauge. And I think it's gonna be pretty fabulous. It has a 2-inch negative ease, which I had to measure this next to a sweater, and it should fit. Like I said, if it doesn't, I'll block it to fit. So I'm very, very excited about that. Yes, this, if you haven't had any of their La Bien Aimée, if you can see that, silk mohair blends, it's really lovely. It has just enough, you know, loft on the mohair. It's not super, I don't know, you can't really even see, but it's yummy. So that is what's on my needles. I am making a couple modifications just to the pattern, but nothing that I won't be able to explain later. Those will be an easy one. I also am knitting a hat that I just keep in my Sandy in the Lakeside bag. And it is, a dear friend is going through chemo and he lives in Seattle. So I wanted to knit him I might do a couple of these hats. This yarn is so dreamy. So since it's summer, I didn't think I wanted to make anything out of wool. So I chose, I went to my local yarn store, and Yarns by Design, and I chose this Juniper Moon Farms and Cumulus. It's really nice, guys. Let's see, it's 94% cotton and 6% nylon, and it's amazingly soft. So hopefully I thought about it later. I thought, oh, I should make more than one hat. And I wanted to mention these faux leather tags. This one, of course, says friend to friend, but I think it's a nice touch when you can add that to the cuff of a hat. I think it might be cool on some other things too. Maybe on a sweater. I don't know. Maybe not. But I really love them on hats. Oh, gloves. I've put them on mitts before too. Fingerless mitts. But I will link where I get these. They're not expensive. It's faux leather. I bought them from Etsy. So it's one maker to the next maker to the next maker. So, and since my friend doesn't have any other knitters in his life, I will have to make another one for him. Maybe two. But, so that's all I have on my needles besides my wraps I'm still working on, which I haven't really touched. What's the name of that one? Breathe and Hope. I'm working on Breathe and Hope. Yes, but little at a time, not very quickly. So, right before I came here, I opened my mail and it was amazing. So I wanted to show you. Do you know of Knit Crate? It's a subscription box that is really fun. Comes once a month. You can choose your type of subscription. And this was June's. They were running a little bit late, kind of like I was. It's June 30th today. I wanted to film this all month, but so I get it, Knit Crate. But I already looked up the patterns too. They send you a link to look up the patterns, and I don't know if I'll make the patterns that were offered, but I love adding to my stash. This is 34% cotton, 35% linen, 19% lyocell, and 11% nylon. So it feels amazing. It could make a lot of yardage on here too, 351 yards. So it could make a little tank or something. Maybe I could make something for Libby. It's really bright and fun. The sun just came out, so sorry, it's super bright. Not sorry, because we love the sunshine when it comes out. And the other thing I received was a gift from my friend Suzanne. And since I didn't know about this yarn, I really wanted to mention it to you guys. It is Scrubby Yarn. Maybe you guys all know it, and I just haven't. But it's from Joanne Fabrics. It might be Red Heart, probably makes it, because I usually use the Red Heart Sugar and Cream Thank You Jam for my pot holders. I love those too. And I love that yarn, but I've never had one made out of Scrubby Yarn. I don't know how long they've been making it, but you can see. So since our kitchen is still not functioning, we're remodeling, and we've been in the basement probably a couple more months, but that's okay. I wash dishes all the time, so this will be an added little, this is gonna make washing dishes a blast. But I love it, Suzanne. Thank you so much. And I think it could be like an exfoliator too, because it's rough, but not terribly rough. I already roughed it, put it on my hands. So yeah, if you didn't know about it, if you did, I'm sorry I didn't know about it earlier. They would make great little gifts also. All right then. I think that's pretty much it, and I can't believe this might be the longest podcast that I have ever filmed. Usually they're like 15 minutes, so I'm sorry. But I will show you some of the things that I am reading. My first one is this really beautiful cookbook. Mary Lisa from Girl Meets Yarn had this in one of her stories, and I she mentioned it, and she mentioned that it was mostly plant-based. Well, it is all plant-based, and since I am plant-based, I decided that I needed to have it. And I can't wait to get a kitchen because then I will make more things. But I did make this butternut squash carbonara, and it was amazing. And these are two cousins that love to cook and came up with this cookbook, and the photography in itself is gorgeous. Yeah, so if you're oh, they have like meal for holidays, a whole meal planning. So anyhow, if you're plant-based or leaning towards that, this is a really wonderful cookbook. So as far as Black Lives Matters, to me, Black educators have been doing their work for years, sort of because they had to. And so their voices are the voices that matter. And I am going to read some Black authors and, you know, how to help this time that we're living in. So I only bought one book, but I bought 3 Audible books because I'm a knitter. And I like to knit while I'm listening to a book, but sometimes I think I should be reading. So I also try to read a little too. So this is a great one. I bought all the books that I bought. I also bought for the library. So I figured that's a little, you know, I should do something else other than just read and listen, and looking for ways, donating. And so I bought this, White Fragility, and I'll listen to this also. And So You Want to Talk About Race was another one I bought. And that is current, and I feel like it's a way for, I feel what she's trying to teach is a way for all races to stop the divide. And she's funny, good book, with just thought-provoking topics. So that's a very good one. And then Oprah just came out with her book club book, and it's Deacon King Kong, and I downloaded that also. So that's sort of what I will be doing while I'm knitting for the next month or so before I'm back. So yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and wear your masks, stay safe, stay hydrated, keep knitting, enjoy all the summer deliciousness that's out there, and remember, you always have a friend to knit with. Take care.